Hi guys, Jack here, playing Thronefall today, which is a really fun little indie game where you build bases and survive against waves of monsters. You control a little king here which rides around and helps you build and kills people. And here's what we're playing with on the very first level. Durstein, we have a spear, and then that green one was an armor bonus for my character, so he has more. And then we're playing with no modifiers to make the game more difficult. What I did on my first night here was build a mill and 2 fields, which hopefully will give me some money in the morning. If they get destroyed by these enemies that spawn, they will give you no money, and then you start to fall behind because you need those buildings to survive to get money to build more. And so the first night here we just have 3 enemies and we're able to deal with them pretty easily on our own with our spear. I decided to spend some more money. I build a couple of houses here, and those houses cost 2 coins, but every night that they survive they give you 1 coin, so you'll slowly start to increase your money. The next night here we have a few more enemies, and you'll see that my character just attacks with a spear, and then when I use my special ability he just attacks really quickly, which is quite helpful for killing things fast. Now this game has 6 levels to start with, and this video here is just the first one. And so you see here the enemies actually manage to break through me, and they get close to my city castle here, my center, and you'll see my health bar dropping to about half, and so if they destroy that you'll actually lose. Luckily though, the center here, it shoots arrows and helps you defend. And now we're actually starting to get a little bit of a decent income with all of our houses and farms. I decided that there's a few more enemies around, so I should probably build a watchtower which will help me shoot. And then I also build a house, and then I upgrade my city center, which gives me a bonus. So I take the attack damage and health bonus just to make my character a little bit more tanky, and I look around and see if there's anything else I can spend, and there isn't. So I skip tonight, and we're facing off these hunterlings, which don't actually attack buildings, they go straight for you and try to kill you, which is interesting. Then we have a bunch of swordsmen over here. We're dealing pretty good damage and we're able to kill a few, but unfortunately there's so many of them they walk right up to my mill and destroy a field before I can get to them. You'll see a hunterling comes over right from me and tries to target me, but you know, because we have no modifiers that make enemies deal more damage or anything like that, and we have plus 250% health, we're pretty tanky, so we're able to deal with it. Unfortunately we just lose 1 field, which means we lose 1 coin, but it's not the end of the world. Now I go for an archery range build, and I usually like to build longbowmen just because they have a much longer range than crossbowmen, which I find is more useful because if you try to keep your archers close to the enemy, a lot of times they'll end up getting killed. So I figure this game, this turn here, it looks like a few more enemies are spawning, so I build a few watchtowers and get the archers, like I said, just to make my guy, you know, pretty strong. And you saw me there, after I bought the archers, I was able to move them around, and so you can drop them in a spot you like, and then they'll kind of maneuver a little bit within reason to get in range of the enemies to shoot them. If they're melee units, they'll run up and attack them, but if you don't want them to move, you can actually hold down the placement button, and then they'll stand their ground and won't move at all, which is helpful for if you want them to stay behind some walls or whatever. And so our defenses did a great job. Those archers and watchtowers took out the enemies, no problem. This round I decided to go for some more economy bonuses. I upgrade my mill, which gives me 3 coins per field instead of 1, which is very nice. And then you'll notice that the enemies that are attacking are racerlings, which go really quickly and go straight for your town center. I'm a little worried about it, so I buy some spearmen, which are good at slowing enemies down, and then I place my archers down behind them, and we'll see what happens. So you'll see they damage my units as they run by, but really they're headed straight for the path because they want to get to the city center. But luckily we have enough melee units. I'm here with my spear, which I think also slows the enemies down, and then the archers and watchtower finish them up. So it's no real problem. Our whole eco bonus survives, so we get our most money yet. Something like 19 coins I think, which is great. I build a few more houses and upgrade them. So these level 2 houses cost an additional 2 coins to upgrade from the 2 cost to build, but they give you 2 coins per night. So again, it's just always good to focus on eco if your base is strong enough to survive, because then you're going to start getting more money. This watchtower in the bottom here I think is really nice because it has enough range to actually damage the enemies right when they spawn. Our character is so tanky we can just go sit right where they spawn and just use our special ability and kill everything. I had placed my spearmen in a hold position, so they weren't actually helping me, so I went back and selected them so they could move forward and attack. And then the other thing I forgot to mention is my special ability with this spearman, besides just attacking quickly, it actually heals you a little bit, which is really useful and just allows you to stay in the battle for longer. However, there's so many archers here, they've actually killed all of my spearmen, and then you see I'm starting to take some damage, but with that special ability, I heal up so quickly, it's no problem whatsoever, and then we're mopping up the enemies. And what you'll notice is from the top there, some of the spearmen are actually walking back, so slowly throughout the night, if a character dies, an archer or spearman, whatever, they'll actually slowly respawn, which is useful. And as you upgrade the level of the building, you get more units and they respawn quicker. So over here I'm wandering around and I'm just building some more mills because I want some more money. And you'll see when you build a building, you get a selection between different characters. For the mill, the one I'm selecting is the one that gives you some more money per each field, just because my defenses feel fine. What we're fighting against now are some flying creatures, so me, because I have a spear, and my spearmen actually can't do anything, so it's all up to my archers here. Unfortunately, these guys like to target your eco buildings, and they're doing some pretty serious damage, and they managed to knock out one of my mills, a couple of the fields, and a few houses, which is kind of annoying. And if the mill is destroyed, I believe you don't get any income from the fields, which is, like I said, unfortunate, but thankfully we built 2 more mills on the other side of the map, so I still get a boatload of money. I see that there's a lot more enemies coming from the east this time, so I decided to upgrade my defenses, especially since last round I had a bit of trouble against those flying creatures, so I figure it cannot hurt. I upgrade all my towers, I split my archers around near their towers, and then I'm going to move my spearmen in front of them to kind of stop anyone from causing trouble. And like I said, the spearmen will run in front of the archers, so it's okay that they're kind of grouped up together. So I just decided to buy a quick house at the end. Again, spend 4 coins, we're going to get 2 next night, and we'll still be good. So just going for the usual strategy, I sit where the enemies are spawning and just try to kill as many as I can with my tanky character. And I trust that in the north my characters were holding the line, but it's a good thing I checked because a few of those racelings that just like to go straight through units for your castle center have to come through. So I helped deal with those, but I mean the towers around my base would have dealt with them. And then I drop back down to the south and I see that all my spearmen are actually dead, and so it was just my archers and towers holding the line. So I think it was a decent idea to get down there, and we clean it up, no problem. So all of our eco buildings survive, and we go from 7 coins to 51, so 44 coins, which is great. Then I upgrade my town center to level 3, which is the last upgrade, and I go for the Royal Mastery upgrade, which again just gives me 75% more health and also 75% more damage, so my character is just a real tank. I upgrade one of my towers that I mentioned earlier, which is my favorite because it's right down by the spawn. And you can choose between a ballista or an armored tower. The armored tower shoots 2 regular bullets, whereas the ballista shoots 1 giant bullet, which targets like big creatures, which we actually haven't seen yet, but they'll be coming soon. And the city center, the other upgrade I could have done is a commander upgrade, which gives your units, I believe, 60% more damage when you're commanding them, and they can also fire and attack while you're moving them. Normally, they just become vulnerable and are just kind of like toddlers being led around by the hand. They don't actually attack back, so they're pretty vulnerable. But me, as you've seen, I'm doing a pretty tanky build for me, so I thought it made more sense to deal more damage. And what we see here is the first big creature. We got a pair of ogres there. We deal with the first one no problem, especially because I can use my special ability, but you know, I start taking a bit of damage, so I run back and send some spearmen to deal with them. And what you'll see is these ogres like to target attacking buildings. They want to walk up to them and smash, and if you get, you know, a large number of them, they can start to deal some serious damage, which racks up. Luckily we clear up everything else, so all of our archers maneuver down to help us attack and do some good damage, and it's no problem. It did seem like we were struggling a little bit, so I decided to upgrade all of my towers. The one at the back there I figure is pretty far away, so it might be smart to use the ballista upgrade, which has a bit more range than the standard tower. I also go around and upgrade some of my mills because their income goes from 3 per field to 8, I believe, which is a crazy difference. It also gets a little bit more health, but to be honest, if an enemy gets to your mill in any significant numbers, they're all going to die. I also buy more knights, and then I decide to try the crossbowmen, just because it seems smart to have more units. I spread them around. The enemies are all coming from the south and the east, so I just split my units around. I figure a mix of melee units to hold the enemies off, and then archers to deal damage from a range is a good strategy. I know, call me a brilliant tactician. I don't know why anyone hasn't thought of that sooner. And I just arbitrarily decided to go to the north. I put a few less troops there because I knew I would be there, and then I'm able to pretty much kill these units as they spawn, especially with the help of just a few of the longermen. I see that we're having no trouble there, so I decide to go check on my other flanks. I see that in the east there was no trouble happening, so I send a few spearmen south just in case we were losing there, but again, we're doing no problem. We bought so many units this turn with the archers and the knights that we had lots of units, so it was all good. I head back to the north because, like I said, there are a few units there, so we start to fall apart there, but I rally at no problem. And then we get a few of the big units spawning, an ogre, but we all focus fire that guy and he goes down no problem. So everything's looking pretty good. I go down and I look in the east, however, and it looks like the ogres have dealt a lot of damage. So I send my archers down to the south to help clear them up, and just like that, no problem. You see the south, I never really had to do anything, and I chalked that up to upgrading that big tower in the south, which does a lot of damage, and is really useful. So we're on day 11, so it goes to 13 knights, so we're almost there. I decide to upgrade the wall in the middle, because you see there's 30 racerlings spawning, and I assume that they're really going to want to go straight for my town center. And I don't want that, because it would be a shame to lose at this point in the night. I also usually kind of like melee units more, and so I send them over here so they can get a good vantage point, and then I'm going to maneuver some melee units down to stop them in their tracks. And then it's only going to be if they get past all those units, then they're going to start going through my gates, which I don't think is going to happen. We're pretty much maxed out on eco because we have all of our houses at level 2 and we have all of our fields, so really it's just for defense that we need to spend. So all the units are spawning down on the bottom, so of course I go sit there, and you'll see we're just absolutely tearing through the enemies. I decide to go sit in the archers because those guys can really chunk up into big groups and they become death balls. We lose all of our melee units, so I quickly send all of my archers back so they don't become a line of fire, and then I have my second line of melee units which I go grab, which are the knights, which are a little bit tanky and they do a good job of absorbing the archer fire. And then at this point the spears start to respawn, I start to kill the enemies, the archers, my longermen are outranging their archers, and we get a nice kill, and that's it. So this one actually confused me a little bit, because if you saw last night, there's like 30 enemies for the racers and then like 20 archers or something like that, and then the night before they were coming from all different sides, but this night there's just 5 hunterlings spawning, which kind of sussed me out. I got a little worried, so I spent a lot of time upgrading my defenses in case it was like a trick or something, because this is actually my very first playthrough of the game here, so I didn't know if it might pull something weird. So I still take the time to maneuver all my troops, which is definite overkill, because I could have just sat there by myself and killed them, especially since I have an upgraded tower there. And exactly, there was no trick, it was just those 5 enemies and they die quickly. So at this point it's night 13, it's the very last one. I upgrade as many towers as I can. I've decided I think I like the armored towers a bit more. I just enjoy having more arrow shooting, whereas the ballista are kind of take a while to aim, and against large massive enemies they're not that good. And I figure myself, and especially the archers, they're going to focus down the big units like the siege engines or the archers. And there you go, I deal so much damage, I can actually one-shot these catapults pretty much, so it's no problem. But what you're seeing this last night is, especially in the south, there's a lot of ogres and catapult spawning, so if you weren't prepared, it could cause a bit of trouble. And those ogres do actually deal a decent amount of damage. They go down to almost half heart. But luckily, like I said, this is the first level, so it's pretty forgiving, and the enemies are actually only spawning in one area at a time. First it's the south, and we managed to clear that up. Then the flying creatures spawn in the west, which is no problem. And then now we get the wave in the east with a bunch of archers and a few catapults. And you see the catapults get off a few shots before I can do anything, and they one-shot my archery range, and they one-shot the field, which is a little annoying, but it's alright. We head back to the south to deal with one of their last waves, which is just a few catapults and a few infantrymen, which is no problem. I check the west to make sure there's nothing crazy going on. And then I head back over to the east and north where we're getting these two areas spawning at once. We're pretty light in troops in the north, so I decided to focus my energy there, and we managed to kill quite a few. And it's a good thing I'm up there because these catapults spawn, and those could have definitely taken out my towers pretty quickly if they were left unattended. You see we get into a bit of trouble. All of our units actually get killed a little bit in the north and east, and these units all break through and they destroy my mill, but luckily the south got cleared up, and then so all my archers run to the north, and then these guys get focus fired, no problem. I maneuver my units again a little bit, keep them inside the walls just so they don't get in trouble, and then I'm waiting, seeing what's happening, and again, first level, super generous, gives you lots of time to get your shit together. Lots of enemies in the south. I get all my troops in position to attack, and then I head down there myself to do a final round of killing. Nothing too complicated, there's no tricks. You know, some levels that alternate at the start between like flying units and infantry, which can be difficult, especially if you are a melee unit, because you're not able to kill them. But this one, we do it no problem, and we keep most of our world protected. And there it is, we get a victory. We get a pretty good base score, a little bit for extra gold, no restarts, which is nice, and then we get a few unlocks. The first is a flail, which is for the melee unit line, another perk point, which you choose at the start of the game, and then this one allows you to have another perk point, so you get to choose between two of them, and then one more unlock, and that's it. Thanks guys, good luck.